Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleos. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study on the book of 2 Corinthians. So glad you're here. We're in the last half of the 10th chapter. Again, poor Paul is having to defend himself against a whole bunch of new charges from the Corinthians who, although Christian, or at least most of them, seem to push back against his authority. They appear to be pretty sensitive and angry. So Paul spends a lot of this letter in a very patient, careful, respectful way, defending uh, himself and his relationship and his intentions, perhaps mostly to gain the uh, gift from the Corinthians to the Jerusalem church, who is destitute at this time, is very important, and many churches are giving to them. And he considers Corinth, which is well off to be a good, should be a good source of funds for them. So this is part of the purpose of this letter, as we read in the last few chapters. But having said this, his heart is still for them, and he's trying to push them on, as we saw in chapters 3 to 6, while still healing and mending that relationship. Very fine balance. And we've talked about good lessons in leadership here. He continues to defend himself against a few charges, adding on to what we talked about in the first 9 verses, the balance between truth and mercy of his message, and being patient with the Corinthians. Now we come to several other specific issues. I'll probably paraphrase just a little. Verse 10, for his letters say they are weighty and powerful, but his body presence is weak and speech contemptible. We mentioned this last time. Now they're complaining he's ugly and sounds bad. So I guess they don't want to look and listen to him. Again, this is superfluous. Again, I'll make the point that when unbelievers, and I guess really even immature believers, don't like what a leader is doing, they don't generally attack the message, they attack the messenger. And whether it be looks, as in this case, calling them stupid, false charges, unscientific, we've seen it all, particularly from the globalists against the Christians, which always tend to make us feel bad. And these are lies and doesn't negate the truth by which we teach, and certainly which Paul was teaching the Corinthians. And he basically says this, verse 11, let no one think of this, such as we are in the word by letters when we are absent, such we will also be in the deed when we are present. Otherwise, the correction that he gave by his letters in 1 Corinthians, specifically that letter, he'll do it again when he comes, at least to specific individuals, because Paul regards his message as true and from God, as is ours, the gospel and the Bible. For we dare not make ourselves the number and compare ourselves with some that commend themselves. So again, another charge. I guess they thought Paul was complimenting himself. And you'll hear this from liberals sometimes, that Paul was arrogant. Not the case. He did not commend himself. He based his, by word commend here, approval, or his setting in place of his mission, synestemi, the word in the original Greek, by God. We don't boast of things without measure, but according to the measure of the rule of God distributed to us, the measure that reach under you. So the measure here is how they measure themselves, their success, and what they teach. And it's just God's word, what God had given to them, or to Paul specifically. We stretch not ourselves beyond measure. As though we reached unto you, we are come as far as to you, preaching the gospel of Christ. Otherwise, their mission is the gospel and teaching them God's word. That's what they did. They didn't claim any authority beyond that. Also a good lesson for leaders. We stay with what we know and our mission or purpose. Not boasting of things without measure and other men's labors, but having hope when your faith is increased, that we shall be enlarged by the according of your rule abundantly. So hopefully that he's wanting the Corinthians to grow even further, to preach the gospel in regions beyond you, and not boast in another man's line of things beyond or made ready to our hand. Otherwise, he wants to continue his ministry and expand it, and not where other people have worked. But he that glorieth, let him glory in the Lord. So the word here, glory, can be a little confusing. Kakamai in the original Greek can mean boast or rejoice. Same word, and can be confusing. I think he's not boasting of himself. He's rejoicing in the Lord. Or you could say, if you're going to boast about things of God. This is a quote from Jeremiah 9:24. For he that commendeth himself, approves himself, is approved, but whom the Lord commendeth. For not he that commends himself, approves himself, is approved, but that comes from God. Okay, so what do we learn here? Again, Paul is having to deflect various charges, that he is ugly, he has gone outside his bounds to talk about things that weren't of him, and he approves of himself like other people do, and he fights back against all these things. His message is from God. That was his mission, and that's exactly what he's done. He doesn't really even seem to bother saying that he's not ugly. He just blows past it. Some things just aren't worth responding to. If he was ugly, and maybe the Corinthians are just saying that to distract him, so we really don't know, it's not important. It's the message that's important. So he takes his self-identity and his message and his approval from God. That's important for all of us who share the gospel, not to be ashamed before man, to be confident of our message and our mission that he's given us. I would say this to those who are being discipled or being taught. A good message here: don't hassle your teacher. The teacher has to give time and emotion, and there's often associated heartbreak to teach you. As we know from Galatians 6, you owe him to communicate good things. In Hebrews 13, respect and care from yourself. So when we say good things, communicate good things. Commendation, thankfulness, and the report of your own ministry and growth. So make it easy for them. For some reason you don't like your teacher, there are other people who teach, and you can go find them. But that's while you're under somebody, give them that respect and help to help them teach you and respond. And for both groups, if the teacher is not responding, as we've talked about, ultimately, that relation, you're not bound to that relationship. The teacher is not bound to that relationship. That student owes you the responsibility of responding to what you said. Okay, thanks for joining me. We'll talk about false teachers next time in chapter 11. I hope you join me then.